Just checking lang if you could see the slides. By the way, na-upload na rin namin yung presentations for the afternoon session sa ating Google link provided sa chat box. We're going to post it again later para dun sa mga pumasok po ulit sa ating Zoom session. So for the outline of my presentation for today, we will discuss the overview of the CCET, its basis, the mobilization and timeline, and the tagging process, and lastly, the CCET quality assurance and review form. So, considering the country's vulnerability to impacts of climate change, it was imperative for the government to support and prioritize climate actions. In 2013, the CCC, in partnership with the Department of Budget and Management, with the help of World Bank, the government started studying the national budget and identifying the need to mainstream climate change in budgeting and investment programming. Building on the result of that study, or the Climate Public Expenditure and Institutional Review, and the ongoing public finance management, a climate budgeting framework was developed and implemented to sustain the government's climate reform initiative. So in the same year, the CCC and DBM issued the Joint Memorandum Circular 2013-01 on the guidelines in tagging, tracking government expenditures for climate change in the budget process. In 2015, the said GMC was amended to enhance the process and institutionalize the functions of the Helpdesk. So our current policy po ngayon is yung DBM-CCC Joint Memorandum Circular 2015, which reinforces the government's transformative climate reforms, especially on mainstreaming climate change in its national budgeting process. So this covers po the tagging of national government agencies, GOCCs, and state universities and colleges. So to give you an overview of our timeline, as I've mentioned a while ago, we in 2013, we started the CCET through the issuance of the said policy. Then in 2014, the DBM issued a circular calling agencies to tag climate expenditures in the NEP and GAA. In 2015, the said JMC was revised to enhance yung process and to institutionalize po yung functions ng ating helpdesk. In 2016, the QAR of the climate change expenditure was developed and further enhancement was made with the typologies to align to the DBM's initiative on the outcome-based budgeting as well as the results-based monitoring of the National Climate Change Action Plan. In 2017, the climate change expenditures were reported in the DBM's Budget Expenditure and Sources of Financing, or BESF. In the next year, the CCET figures were integrated and uploaded in the NICDIS subportal of the CCC. Yun po yung kaninang na-discuss sa atin ni Ms. MM on the climate change issues topic, and we also reposting it in the chat box for reference. In 2019, the DBM strengthened the CCET process through the issuance of a National Budget Memorandum and Corporate Budget Memorandum for GOCC that mandates agencies and GOCCs to secure CCC approval of their respective CCET quality assurance and review forms. So in 2020 po, we conducted the first virtual orientation for CCET held last April para po ma-reinforce yung knowledge po natin on CCET and to ensure that the process will be sustained even na meron tayong pandemic. Now for the tagging process. The effectiveness of climate response requires integration of climate change issues. Now let's identify if the program is a climate change expenditure. So by looking po dito sa ating Decision 3 slide, the agency or the GOCC should check if the main or one of the main objectives explicitly articulate climate change adaptation or mitigation. If yes, tag the entire PAP budget as CC expenditure. If no, are there any projects, activities, or parts of the PAP that directly address climate change? If yes, tag the proportion of that expenditure that is climate responsive. If no, do not tag the PAP. So reiterating lang din po na if you have any questions regarding on the identification whether the PAP is climate change or disaster risk reduction, you could further ask Helpdesk in our QAR submission, and evaluation. The next slide features the CCET Typology Code Manual. The first one, so this is the coding structure of CCET. How are you going to classify po the PAP if either this is an adaptation or climate change mitigation action, and ano yung specific nomenclature for that specific PAP. The first one means the climate change binary. The second one is the 7 Ccep thematic or strategic priorities like food security, water sufficiency, ecosystem and environmental stability, human security, climate smart industries, sustainable energy, knowledge and capacity development, and the cross-cutting priorities such as the overall national climate change planning and policy process and the climate finance. The third one is the sub-priority under each strategic priority. These are the outcomes identified in the NCCEP. The next one is the instrument wherein the POP is classified. And the last one is the activity. So ito yung mga instruments po on how are we going to classify the CCET Typology Code Manual. So if your PAP belongs to policy and governance, it enables activity focused on empowering the stakeholders to take action through development, adoption, monitoring, and review of policy plans and regulation and other issuances. Or your POP could be under the research and development that enables focus on information related to climate change. Together or reinforced by knowledge and capacity building and training, which focus naman on institutional capacity to implement climate action through awareness raising, dissemination, and training activities. And lastly, action delivery. So this is the sample CCET typology under the food security sector. Rest assured that after this training, we're going to send you the CCET typology code manual along with the other reference materials for this orientation. So this is the sample form for the budget. Ito po yung budget form naman for the GOCC. The form 711, based po dun sa inilabas na DBM na Corporate Budget Memorandum number 43, makikita nyo po yung form 711 or yung Climate Change Expenditure. So dito nyo po ilalagay yung mga itatag nyo na climate budget sa mga programs ng GOCCs. So the next slides naman po, I'm going to discuss with you the CCET QAR form. Pursuant to the latest Corporate Budget Memorandum, all agencies and GOCC should seek CCC approval of their respective QAR forms. So first, indicate under this column or column 1, the program, activity, or project in the same level of detail as required in the Form 711. So the next column, indicate the typology that corresponds to the activity being undertaken. Ito po yung kaninang ipinakita ko na National Climate Change Typology Code. For columns 3 and 4, the main objective entails the overall target of the PAP, aims to achieve, while CC objectives are undertaking aim towards achieving climate resilience in terms of adaptation or mitigation. In the event that the PAP's main objective correspond fully to climate change, it is important to note that the amount shall be tagged entirely as climate change responsive in the Form 711. However, in specific cases, tulad nga po nung na-discuss before sa Decision 3, wherein PAP only contains specific components that is climate responsive, only that budget allocation should be tagged. Next, for column 5, in the discourse of addressing the impacts of climate change, it has been identified that some of the samples of climate risks are rising temperature, variability or precipitation, frequency and intensity of typhoons, sea level rise, and the risk of more droughts, floods, heat waves, and forest and grassland fires are some of the pressing issues that need immediate action. In this column, kindly indicate what kind of climate risk does your organization or corporation is addressing. And the last column, indicate the climate information or source of data being used to identify all of these climate actions and climate risks. So yung mga sample po nito ay mga scientific articles, publication and reports of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change or IPCC, data projections from Pag-asa, maps from Mines and Geosciences Bureau, and or your GOCC's Commission Study on Climate Change. As part of our preparation for the 2022 fiscal year budget, the CCC po has issued a memorandum circular which also be sent to you later, containing the timeline of the CCET QAR certification. So yung mga dates na nakalagay po dito are just the deadlines, but you could send on or before of that particular date. So for the submission of the required documents, this is the CCET QAR form along with the Form 711 on or before March 25. And then pag nasubmit nyo na siya sa Helpdesk, we're going to acknowledge it and immediately provide the feedback and comment for improvement. So the expected time will be around March 26 to April 16. But again, kung mas mapapasa nyo po ng mas maaga sa amin, mas mabilis din po kaming makakapag-feedback at mas maaga rin kami makakapag-provide ng comments for improvement. And then the submission of revised QAR is expected to arrive at 16 to 30 of April or mas maaga po. And then the last day for the CCC to issue a certification is on May 7, 2021, 3 days before the deadline naman sa DBM. This is to ensure that all certifications are provided to the agencies and GOCCs that submitted po the CCET QAR and Form 711. And for the information na rin po ng mga GOCCs, on May 7 then, we're going to furnish the DBM of a completed list of those GOCCs that submitted CCET QAR and certified by the Climate Change Commission. So we just want to highlight that CCET is just a means to an end. It is a tool to assess the status of the country's national response to climate change and on evaluating the effectiveness of the country's institutional framework on climate change. With the government identifying its climate change expenditures, it will now allow us to first inform policy decision amongst oversight agencies like the CCC, DBM, NEDA, and DOF by generating timely statistics on the allocation of resources and by providing a baseline to evaluate the climate change impact on public expenditures. With the climate change typologies aligned with our National Climate Change Action Plan, the process of tagging will promote coherence across sector policies and programs by fostering links between the budget and climate policies. And when we start tracking of our public expenditures on climate change, it will facilitate the country's readiness for accessing, administering, or coordinating flows of domestic and international climate finance. So ito na yung mga iba't iba pang mga mechanisms or channels available for climate finance. Since 2015, the Helpdesk support government instrumentalities including the GOCCs on CCET concerns. By looking po sa participants natin ngayon, some of you have been already experienced yung assistance and comment and feedback sessions with the CCET Helpdesk sa mga nakaraang fiscal years. So we are always here to first build the government instrumentalities capacity and readiness to undertake CCET like the one we're doing right now. Evaluate agency proposal of climate change components against the existing typology and duly accomplished QAR form. Next, review and approve new typology proposal of the agencies and GOCCs and SUCs consistent with the UACS, and together with the DBM, prepare climate budget briefs and reports based on the CCET process. So again, ipe-present ko lang po ang aming National Integrated Climate Change Database and Information Exchange System. It contains the relevant resources on CCET, such as the toolkits, manuals, QAR forms, as well as our latest Joint Memorandum Circular for national and local CCET. Furthermore, we're planning to launch a special page for NICDs for our orientation. So doon nyo po makikita yung mga special lessons or parang mga deepening sessions on CCET and climate change para din po mas makatulong after this orientation sa pag-develop nyo ng aming CCET QAR. So apart po sa pag-post namin ng link sa chat box, we're going to send the link of NICDs na rin sa mga email addresses nyo after this training. So again, on behalf of the Climate Change Commission and the CCET Helpdesk, we express our appreciation for your active participation for today's orientation. Maraming salamat po. Ayan. So for our next presentation naman po, we're going to show or to inform you about the GAA climate change provision for FY 2021. This will help the GOCCs in identifying ano ba yung mga possible entry points din ninyo if ever na wala pa kayong climate change program as per the latest GAA, which is 2021.
Good morning, everyone. This is Laymang Labnan of the Implementation Oversight Division. For today, I will be sharing with you the list of climate change provisions under the GAA FY 2021, including the climate change provisions of your agency. The monitoring and reporting of climate change-related GAA FY 2021 provisions aims to foster government leadership in mainstreaming, implementing, and tracking climate change adaptation and mitigation in the development process through harmonization of efforts of national government agencies. Under the General Provisions, Section 27, Implementation of Infrastructure Projects, the CCC must coordinate with the DPWH as the lead implementing arm of the government on infrastructure projects in setting up a technical working group or special task force composed of concerned agencies listed below. Under Section 28, Installation of Rainwater Collection System, rainwater collection system shall be installed in public markets, school sites, and government buildings and sites as an adaptation measure to combat climate change and to ensure sufficient water supply, which shall be in accordance with the prescribed design of DPWH. In summary, the CCC shall collaborate with the DPWH and other relevant agencies in monitoring the installation of rainwater collection system. Under Section 36, Mainstreaming of Disaster Risk Reduction and Climate Change Adaptation in Agency PAPs, all agencies of the government should implement projects incorporating risk reduction, climate change adaptation, and where feasible, climate change mitigation. The CCC will coordinate with NGA's climate actions that will be reported and tagged to the Ccep through the Cabinet Cluster on CCAM-TRR. Under Section 39, Climate Budget Tagging, the CCC, in coordination with the DBM, will provide the necessary technical assistance, capacity building, and technical M&E of all government instrumentalities, climate budget, and expenditure in the implementation of this provision. Under Section 40, Maintenance and Operation of Dams, the Climate Change Commission, in coordination with other mandated government agencies, will provide the necessary inputs and guidance to implement this general provision. Let us now move to the special provisions. This year, the Climate Change Commission would like to harness collaboration with relevant government agencies in enhancing climate public finance systems. As such, the Commission's CCET Helpdesk will be monitoring and reporting the climate change-related GAA FY 2021 special provisions and its linkage to the climate budget tagging system. The Climate Change Commission, pursuant to its mandate, shall extend the necessary technical and capacity building assistance to all agencies of the government and LGUs in the conduct of risk assessment and in the development of climate change adaptation and mitigation policies plans and programs. For this purpose, the CCC may also utilize the services of the international experts under the country's official development assistance portfolio. The Climate Change Commission, in coordination with the Department of Science and Technology and Department of Environment and Natural Resources and other NGAs concerned, shall establish a data ecosystem for climate action to build up quality decision support tools for climate adaptation and mitigation. Ccep Quality Assurance and Review. Under Section 3 of this special provision, the Climate Change Commission, in coordination with DILG and DHSUD, can develop guidelines to ensure the observance by LGUs of the minimum quality standards in preparing their respective LCCAPs. For the Department of Agriculture, under Section 18 of the GAA provision, Climate Resilience of Agriculture Communities, the DA and CCC shall continue to promote the climate field schools training and seminars and enhance the existing training modules to include the benefits of rainwater catchment, organic farming approaches, and sustainable land use as stated in the DA's special provision. This could be done through RTD and workshop between the CCC and DA. For the Department of Agrarian Reform under Section 5, the Climate Change Commission can assist DAR in building the capacities and resilience to climate change of ARCs through the CORE and CRFS programs. The CCC and DAR can forge a Memorandum of Understanding to formalize the areas of convergence. Furthermore, the Department of Agrarian Reform can be included in the existing institutional arrangement of CCC and DA on the climate resilient agriculture initiatives. On DepEd's last month school program, the Climate Change Commission will provide technical guidance and inputs on the development of DepEd's basic education facilities. For the state universities and colleges, under Section 11 of the special provision, the CCC must continue to expand partnership with SUCs on assisting LGUs in its LCCAP, CIDRA, CLUP, and other development plans. The partnership can be through a MOA or MOU with the SUCs and other training institutes. For the DENR, Climate Change Information Management System, under Section 6 of the special provision, the CCC shall coordinate with the DENR on developing the Content Climate Change Information Management System and Network. This could be done in two parallel processes. One, tagging of existing climate change information platforms and integrating the web management system framework for climate change information. This could be done through coordination meetings and workshops with the DENR and other mandated agencies. In reduction of short-lived climate pollutants, the mandated agencies, including the Climate Change Commission, can enhance the existing medium-term plan for SLCP reduction into the National Action Plan. This could be done through a series of coordination meetings and workshops. For the Department of Energy, Promotion of Renewable Energy Resources, the Climate Change Commission, through coordination meetings, can coordinate with DOE on the development of a national low-carbon energy pathway, including the development of indigenous renewable energy. Climate Change Commission to provide inputs and support for DOE on this special provision. For the Department of Foreign Affairs under Section 11, Support to Climate Negotiations, the Climate Change Commission and DFA can work together on building the capacity of Philippine negotiators on international climate change negotiations and logistical concerns of the Philippine delegations during the international climate change negotiations. For the Department of Health under Section 17, Greening Philippine Hospitals, the Climate Change Commission, together with the DOH and other relevant agencies, can develop a long-term and short-term green hospital action plan supportive of and in line with NCCAP, and conclude with tripartite Memorandum of Agreement, CCC, DOH, and DILG, to set the springboard for future collaborative and harmonious plans and actions, as well as similar agreements with other key partners. For the Department of the Interior and Local Government, Disaster Preparedness Activities, the Climate Change Commission shall monitor the establishment of the impact-based early warning system with standard operating procedures for evacuation tested through drills and simulation exercises to enable communities threatened by typhoon, flood, storm surge, tsunami, and other impending hazards in line with the goals of the National Climate Change Action Plan. For the DILG-LGA, Enhancing LGU Capacity on Climate Change Adaptation and Disaster Risk Management Framework, the CCC, DILG-LGA, and PIA through an MOU and MOA may collaborate on enhancing the training modules on local climate change capacity building programs and peer-to-peer exchanges on best practices on climate change adaptation and mitigation. Furthermore, the agencies can work on developing a compendium of LGU's best practices on Ccep. For the Department of Public Works and Highways under Section 11, Construction of Evacuation Centers, pursuant to GAA General Provision, Section 37, the Climate Change Commission will monitor the development of a climate risk-informed infrastructures. For the Department of Science and Technology, pursuant to GAA Provision, Section 1, the Climate Change Commission can complement its research agenda on climate change to thematic priority research areas of DOST in line with the special provision of DOST. This could be done through coordination meeting and MOU between the CCC and DOST and RCP. For the DOST Pag-asa, the Climate Change Commission shall monitor the establishment of the impact-based early warning system with standard operating procedures for evacuation tested through drills and simulation exercises to enable communities threatened by typhoon, flood, storm surge, tsunami, and other impending hazards in line with the goals of the National Climate Change Action Plan. For the NCIP under Section 2, the Climate Change Commission and the NCIP shall develop and implement climate-resilient livelihood programs and projects for indigenous people. For the Department of Tourism, the Climate Change Commission can collaborate with DOT on learning the latter's certification and standard development process from green hotels that can help in the development of green job certification standards. Since tourism is one of the major sectors of the Philippine economy, the Climate Change Commission should work closely with DOT in ensuring that the tourism industry sector's growth plan are aligned with the NDC. For TESDA under Section 10, Green Skills Training, the Climate Change Commission will monitor the development of TESDA's Green Skills Training and tag to the National Climate Change Action Plan and Climate Project Tagging. For the Commission on Higher Education, the Climate Change Commission, in coordination with SUCs and CHED, shall ensure that the lists to be taught and promoted under Section 8 of the GAA provision are integrated in the school curriculum. For the National Irrigation Authority, the Climate Change Commission will monitor the implementation of irrigation projects in line with the National Climate Change Action Plan Water Security Thematic Priority. For the updating of dam discharge protocols, the Climate Change Commission will monitor the implementation of dam discharge protocols in line with the National Climate Change Action Plan Water Security Thematic Priority.